Chapter 9, Social Networking, Part 3 of 3, Social Networking and Ethical Issues. The learning outcomes include: assess key ethical challenges associated with the use of social networking, recommend ways to overcome unethical and/or illegal activities on social networking, evaluate the impact of ubiquitous social networking on protecting vulnerable groups online, examine the widespread uses of online gaming and social networks and their impact on how people learn and interact with each other. Let's start with a few definitions of two common social networking ethical issues: cyberbullying and cyberstalking. Cyberbullying is defined as an aggressive, intentional act carried out by a group or an individual using electronic forms of contact repeatedly and over time against a victim who cannot easily defend him or herself. We often associate cyberbullying with minors, as seen in the definition: harassment, torment, humiliation, or threatening of one minor by another minor or group of minors via the internet or cell phone. However, cyberbullying can happen to anyone of any age. Post a comment that is derogatory toward your favorite political candidate and see what happens. You will be harassed and bullied for a long, long time. I had an incident in late 2016 where someone posted some ugly suggestions on my Facebook account on a picture of my mom and dad and sister and me. It referred to my husband and said, "How did it feel now?" My husband was next to me on the couch and I asked, "What did you do?" He didn't know the guy, but after some research, we found out who he was. My husband often kids around with his cousin about NFL football. She's a Green Bay fan and he's a Bears fan. He responded to a comment she made about hoping that Green Bay's luck holds out. My husband said that their luck was going to run out when they played the Falcons, and he added a smiley face. No ugly words, and not even derogatory toward Green Bay. Apparently, my husband's cousin had made her comment in a Green Bay Packers group, and my husband didn't even know that. So a troll from that group decided to say ugly things to me. I had made no comments about Green Bay. I don't even care. But he was trying to get my husband back. Several of the group members attacked my husband on their group site as well, but only one attacked me. I deleted the post and looked up the guy. He described himself as someone who loves his 2 little girls and God. Wow. I don't think he would like to see a post like he made on my profile on one of his 2 little girls. I deleted the post and moved on. Then my mom called and said someone made an ugly post on our family picture. I said I knew and I had deleted it. 3 minutes after I deleted it, he reposted it. So I blocked him and reported him to Facebook. However, the post was gone, so there was really no way I could complain about him. I messaged my husband's cousin, and she was appalled at the post. She posted a message to the troll and said, "How dare he disrespect her cousin?" Anyway, I wasn't even involved, and I was on the receiving end of only one ugly post. It didn't bother me, but if people kept making posts like that over and over again, it would have gotten old. I'm also a big believer in handling issues myself rather than seeking help. Sometimes it's not so clear, however. Cyberstalking is threatening behavior or unwanted advances at an adult using the internet or other forms of online and electronic communications, or using the internet, email, or other electronic communication devices to create a criminal level of intimidation, harassment, and fear in one or more victims. Cyberstalking typically involves adults, while cyberbullying often involves minors. They are often used interchangeably, however. How do we know how much is too much contact? How do we know if the conduct is considered aggressive or threatening? Our very busy, reasonable person has to make these determinations. What's criminal? What is abusive? What is harassing? What is free speech? Each situation is different, but to those who experience cyberbullying or cyberstalking, it can be a daunting situation. How much of a problem really is cyberbullying? 4 of 10 internet users are victims of online harassment, with just over half of them having less severe harassment and just under half of them having more severe harassment. But 40%, wow, that's a lot. We need to better understand the problem and take steps to address it. In the workplace, 27% of U.S. employees have experienced bullying at work. Half of the workforce has either been bullied themselves or have seen others being bullied. Not surprisingly, 12% of bullies are bosses. It's not illegal unless it's based on Title IX or other protected classes. So bosses have power and bully others to get them to do whatever they want. Bullying is 4 times more common than harassment, which is often illegal. Let's look at where teens are cyberbullied. The largest percentage by far is on Facebook, followed by Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and IM. So a large percentage of our teens are being methodically harassed and or humiliated online, again determined by what a reasonable person would find harassing. And public figures typically have less grounds to claim harassment since they put themselves into the public eye. The case that brought cyberbullying to public attention was when a teenager, Megan, committed suicide. Megan suffered from clinical harassment, clinical depression, and one of her friends' mothers pretended to be a boy that Megan liked, then very publicly dumped her on Facebook and made mean and derogatory comments, posting as the boy. Megan was unstable and became suicidal. Unfortunately, there are few laws that make cyberbullying a crime, although states have moved to offer protections in recent years. A plaintiff could bring forward a case for damages based on the tort of intentional infliction of emotional distress under federal and or state laws, but it's difficult because it's a fairly new concept. Laws can't move as fast as technology. Monitor your social media accounts regularly. Monitor the accounts of your children, and stop harassment when you see it. Men and women experience different types of online harassment, with women having more sexual harassment and stalking, while men are called offensive words more often. Younger women in particular experience some forms of online harassment, again suffering more harassment, sexual harassment, and stalking than their male counterparts. Clearly, we need to be aware of and sensitive to harassment online. Don't harass people, and don't let others harass people. Remember the golden rule. Another cyberbullying case was when 18-year-old Brandy Vila committed suicide in Texas in late 2016. Brandy's ex-boyfriend and his current girlfriend were arrested in March 2017 and charged with unlawful disclosure or promotion of intimate visual material. He must have posted sexually suggestive and or explicit photos of Brandy without her permission. The current girlfriend was charged with stalking and online impersonation. She would try to friend Brandy using various user IDs and names. Even when Brandy didn't friend her, she still posted negative comments and abusive remarks, mainly talking about how fat Brandy was. She wasn't. And how ugly she was. She wasn't. The methodical, sustained harassment went on for quite some time. Eventually, Brandy couldn't handle it anymore. She shot and killed herself in front of her family. We as a community have to try to prevent harassment where we can. People can't be precious little snowflakes that can't handle any ideas different from their own, and people need to stand up for themselves. However, when we deal with a huge population of internet users, we have to stand up for others and for what is right, even if the harassment may turn back to us. What can we do besides do our best to stand up for those who are being harassed or bullied? The object of the bullying can send the harasser written notice that their contact is unwanted. Get a lawyer involved if needed, and keep all of the messages, postings, and writings in case you need to file suit against the harasser. Inform your internet provider of the problem and the stalker's provider as well if you can find it. Call the police to get help. Never, under any circumstances, should you meet with the stalker. Society in general tries to protect those who are unable to protect themselves. One group that we try to protect is our children. It's difficult to protect them online, particularly with the ease that sexual predators can open a dialogue with vulnerable children. Some sexual networking sites are criticized for failing to protect children from sexual predators. Obviously, this is a difficult situation. How do we protect our children while not infringing on my or any adult's rights to view what I want to view online? Remember that the First Amendment is often the deciding factor in determining who wins in a lawsuit. In the U.S., the First Amendment makes it difficult for us to protect children. We do have the sex offender registration and notification provisions passed in 2006, which attempts to capture the locations of sex offenders near you. It sets minimum standards of registration and notification for U.S. states. Of the almost 900,000 sex offenders, about 200,000 of them went on the registry as juveniles. Some for consensual sex, others for sharing explicit photos with another minor, etc. We must protect our children. This map shows sex offenders per state per 100,000 people. While the sex offender registry provides some assistance for the community, it is incomplete, not always correctly updated, and may not include the crime committed. For instance, a child having consensual sex with another child may not be differentiated from a 45-year-old man having sex with a 15-year-old girl. The map is useful, however, to get an overall picture of the number of sexual predators in the U.S. With the advent of the internet and social networking, however, sexual predators can come into your home from places far, far away. SORNA is Title I of the Adam Walsh Act, originally passed in 2006 and updated in 2016. It attempts to make it easier for the public to determine how dangerous a particular sex offender is by setting up 3 tiers of sex offenders, each with different lengths of registration times. One of the goals of the act is to honor the memory of Adam Walsh, who was abducted and killed in 1981. His father, John Walsh, hosted America's Most Wanted to try to capture people who had been able to elude authorities. The show had some success with helping bring forward those wanted for various crimes. John Walsh's own son's case was not solved until 2008, when the police announced they had evidence of the identity of the killer who had passed away in prison years earlier, but not before professing his guilt in the Adam Walsh case. States have struggled with the cost to catalog and track sex offenders, and the U.S. government and the U.S. Marshal Service has provided assistance. The 3 goals of the acts are: protect children from sexual exploitation and violent crime, prevent child abuse and child pornography, and promote internet safety. We come to the question, what can we upload? We also have to think about what should we upload. If we choose to do so, we can upload sexually explicit videos to our iCloud account. If we do that, however, we need to remember that the iCloud account may be shared with others, like your children and your soon-to-be ex-wife. This happened to a friend of mine. You will often hear about celebrity pictures getting leaked, a sex video of Kim Kardashian, or nude photos of Jennifer Lawrence. If you have photos or video, don't store them on the cloud. If you do store them on the cloud, have a strong password and don't share your password. Social media sites all have different terms of use and agreements. We agree to abide by them when we create an account. The site may, at its own discretion, remove your videos and or photos if they are out of line with the accepted terms of use. Most social media sites have policies against uploading videos depicting violence or obscenity. We all know what obscenity is, right? If not, we simply ask the reasonable person if she or he isn't too busy. Most social networking sites can choose to remove your material and even delete your account and bar you from access to the app. You agreed to abide by their policies, and having a Facebook account isn't a right. It's a privilege and a choice. You have the First Amendment right to freedom of speech, but you don't have a right to a Facebook account or to post sexually explicit videos on YouTube. However, the apps do not have the resources to review all of the material that is posted. Remember when we looked at what happens in an internet minute? It's impossible to review every video and photo and comment that is posted. Owners of intellectual property must be vigilant about protecting their rights of ownership, distribution, and making of derivative copies. You must protect your own individual property. Online virtual worlds have come a long way since the early to mid-1980s, when you would type "Go W" to move in a westward direction around an amusement park or whatever the setting might be. The immersive online virtual worlds that exist today are incredible. The graphics are stunning, and the number of tasks operating at once is truly incredible. Virtual reality lets us be wherever or whoever we want to be. For many millennials, and particularly for young men millennials, these video games are an important part of their lives. We have the recent advent of esports, where the best in the world come to compete on games like Call of Duty or Destiny or World of Warcraft. It's big business. In this shared multimedia environment, you can choose an avatar to represent you, and the avatar can be whoever you want it to be. My kids play these games. Although they get immersed in a game, particularly when it first comes out, they aren't buried in the game and never looking up. They go to work and or school, they practice sports, they go out with friends, but when they get to the video game world, they may have a completely different set of friends from all over the world. It's a massively multiplayer online video game with many users playing at the same time. You form teams to work together and accomplish a mission set in ancient times or World War II or wherever you want it to be. You take on different roles according to what you want to be today. I remember when my then 13-year-old was telling me about his friend from Canada. I told him to be careful that people weren't always who they said they were. He said he knew this friend was a 15-year-old boy, and I said, "How do you know?" He said he knew because he told the friend he was 14 years old. So they were being honest with each other. I'm glad that they have a wider circle of friends now and usually interact with people they actually know. They still have a few friends from around the world, but my kids are old enough and big enough to take care of themselves in a fight. If you ask them, they will also be smart enough, but I sometimes question that. In these online environments, there is no skin color, no sexual orientation, no age, no sex. Everyone is whoever they want to be. As Bell Hooks, a feminist and activist, noted, quote, "We judge on the basis of what somebody looks like, skin color, whether we think they're beautiful or not. That space on the internet allows you to converse with somebody with none of those things involved," end quote. And in my view, that's a good thing. For all of the demeaning remarks made about millennials being entitled and spoiled, they're also less concerned about skin color or sexual orientation or whatever. They interact with you online because you have similar interests or are a good player. They don't judge by other external factors, and that's a good thing. However, millennials expect instant gratification and fast response and delivery. Businesses should take note of this large, upwardly mobile, well-educated, and technologically savvy group. If they don't buy your products or services now, you want them in the future.